Hi there, this is Lee, and you're watching another episode of In the Moment. And we're going to talk about alignment from a slightly different point of view today, and I'm going to try not to get too technical, but what you're about to hear is going to sound pretty amazing, and it's also pretty weird. Okay, so let's talk about algae. They're tiny little creatures, one-celled basically, and they live in communities for the most part. And there's evidence that algae began to photosynthesize, that is to say, to collect photons or particles or whatever they are, because we don't actually know. But these little bits of light called photons in its cellular tissue. Okay, so what did it do with them? Well, it photosynthesized, and photosynthesis is the process whereby life takes photons or light and uses it to bind it into tissue and create energy. And it began to happen somewhere around 3.5 billion years ago. There's pretty good evidence for it. So it happened almost right away after the Earth was formed, so quickly that it's believed by some that life did not originally evolve here. Okay, well, so what does all of that have to do with alignment? Well, the process of photosynthesis is all about alignment because the way it works, and I'm going to vastly oversimplify things here, is that a photon hits a molecule which is all folded up, kind of like a coiled spring, and it causes it to straighten out. That's the energy process that creates all the energy that you use in your body. It originally came from photosynthesis in plants, and it was transformed into usable energy by a process of alignment. Okay, so molecular alignment is critical to the receiving of light by cells that use the light to create tissues in plants, which are then used by us to create our tissues. And so all of the tissue in our being begins when light hits a chloroplast in a cell and it aligns with it. Okay. How often does this happen in 1 second in one algae cell, that is? Well, okay, I hope you're sitting down because one algae cell performs 30 trillion molecular operations a second in order to achieve this feat. So that's one algae cell, okay? And plants, for example, have billions of photosynthesis organs in their cells, billions. So the number of molecular operations of alignment that's taking place in the plant kingdom is nearly uncountable, and it's happening every second. Alignment rules this planet, and it rules our cells and bodies as well. And there are many diseases, in fact, that result from poor alignment in cellular tissue. So if you think that alignment isn't an essential feature in your being and your life, you're definitely wrong. And the point that all of this talk about alignment is making is that your molecules aren't the only things in you that need to align. There are spiritual parts in being, very fine spiritual parts that need to align to help all of this light within your being to do the work it needs to do to keep you alive. Thanks for listening to In the Moment.